On a lonely highway in the Nevada desert, Keanu Reeves stopped at a small gas station to refuel his motorcycle and grab a coffee. It was a place forgotten by time, where dust blended with the scent of old gasoline. A teen girl behind the counter seemed like just another exhausted figure at the end of a long day, but something in her eyes told a different story. It wasn't just the surprise of seeing that she was just a child, no older than 12. It was the invisible tension hanging in the air, the way her hands trembled as she handed back the change, the watchful eyes of the man keeping a close eye on her. When Keanu picked up the receipt and absent-mindedly turned it over, his body tensed. The handwritten words made his blood run cold. You won't believe how this story ends. It will keep you on edge from start to finish. Before we continue this story, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel because tomorrow we have another special story for you. The road cut through the desert like a forgotten scar. The road cut through the desert like a forgotten scar. The heat made the asphalt shimmer under the setting sun, and Keanu felt the warm wind against his face as he rode his motorcycle. He liked empty roads, but this stretch of Nevada desert felt too empty. When he saw the only gas station for miles, he decided to stop. The flickering neon sign read Open 24H, though some letters were burned out, giving the place a rundown feel. He slowed down, parking next to the only working pump. The door to the mini-mart creaked open and a young girl stepped out. Keanu immediately noticed something different. She was far too young to be out here alone. She was thin, her oversized uniform hanging loosely on her small frame. Her eyes were sunken, dark circles etched deep, and her shoulders seemed permanently hunched. She avoided making eye contact. "Good evening, sir. Fill up?" Her voice was soft, almost hesitant. Keanu nodded. "Full tank, please." She started fueling, but her hands were slightly trembling. Keanu didn't like that. Something felt off. The mini-mart door swung open again. A man stepped out. Matt. Tall, broad-shouldered, hard-faced. He said nothing. He just stood in the doorway watching. But Keanu noticed how the girl immediately dropped her gaze when he appeared. Matt never took his eyes off her. When the girl fumbled slightly with the gas nozzle, Matt's expression hardened. "You're taking too damn long." His voice was cold, sharp. The girl hurried immediately without looking up. Keanu saw that, and he didn't like it. After fueling up, Keanu decided to step into the mini-mart. The inside was cluttered and dimly lit, with shelves filled with expired products. The air smelled of stale coffee. The girl stood behind the counter, wearing the same vacant expression as before. Matt remained near the door, watching everything. "Just a coffee, please," Keanu said. She moved quickly, but her hands shook slightly, causing a few drops to spill. Matt let out an exaggerated sigh. "Jesus, can't even hold a damn cup right." She didn't respond, just grabbed a cloth and wiped up the spill as fast as possible. Keanu took his coffee, but something about that moment disturbed him deeply. When Keanu handed over his money, the girl hesitated for a split second before giving him his change. She didn't look him in the eye, but when their hands briefly touched, Keanu felt the faintest squeeze of her fingers. It was quick, almost unnoticeable, like she was trying to say something without words. Then, in a swift motion, she slid the receipt into his hand. Keanu took it without reacting. The girl immediately pulled back. Matt was still watching, and he looked suspicious. Outside, Keanu took a sip of his coffee as he walked to his bike. The desert was too quiet. He glanced at the receipt before stuffing it into his pocket, but as he folded it, he saw something handwritten on the back. "Help. Please, don't let him see this." Keanu's heart beat harder. He lifted his gaze and discreetly looked back at the mini-mart. The girl was inside now, standing behind the counter, her hands resting over her small frame. And then he noticed something even stranger. Matt was locking the door, slowly turning the key like he was sealing the place. Keanu felt his pulse quicken. He could simply ride away. But now he knew something was very wrong. The girl wasn't just trapped in this gas station. She was a prisoner, and Matt wasn't letting her go. Keanu couldn't just leave. He immediately lifted his eyes. Inside, she stood behind the counter, her hands instinctively placed over herself, the movement subtle, protective. And then for just a second she looked at him, but it was enough. That look didn't just ask for help, it begged. Keanu felt tension rise in his chest, and then the door to the mini-mart clicked audibly. He turned his head just in time to see Matt locking the door, sealing the place. The girl wasn't just trapped here. She was a hostage, and Matt wasn't letting her leave. This wasn't just coincidence. It was control. And Keanu couldn't just leave. He switched off his engine slowly, pretending to check something on his dashboard. But in reality, his eyes were analyzing everything around him. And now, he saw clearly. This place wasn't just some rundown gas station. It was a prison hiding in plain sight. He started noticing alarming details. Windows covered with newspapers blocking any view from outside. Only one working security camera pointed at the cash register, ignoring the rest of the store. The gas tank was never completely full. This place wasn't running like a real business. It was just a front, and the girl was part of it. He needed to stay calm. He couldn't just barge in and take her. If Matt had been controlling her this long, he wouldn't hesitate to take things further. Keanu moved to the side of the building, pretending to check his bike. And then, he heard it. A muffled noise, like something being knocked over. And a moment later, a short, sharp scream. The girl. The decision was made in that instant. Keanu wasn't leaving without her. He heard the muffled noise again, followed by the short scream, forcing him to take immediate action. He didn't hesitate. He moved quickly to the side of the mini-mart, testing the side door handle. Unlocked. That was strange. If Matt was so controlling, why leave a side entrance unsecured? Maybe he never expected anyone to have the guts to come in. Keanu pushed the door open slowly, slipping inside without making a sound. The smell hit him first. Old oil, dust, a place that should have been clean for customers but was clearly neglected. This didn't feel like a legitimate business. It was something else, and now Keanu needed to figure out what. The shelves were messy, as if no one really cared about organization. The products were expired, some by months. That meant the gas station wasn't really there to sell gas and groceries. It was just a cover for something bigger. As Keanu moved past the shelves, he heard something, a noise coming from a slightly open door in the back. He stopped, holding his breath. He stepped closer and peeked inside. That's when he saw it. The girl. She was sitting on a dirty mattress, a light chain around her ankle. Her eyes widened when she saw Keanu, but before she could say anything, she raised a finger to her lips. Silence. Keanu immediately understood. She couldn't call for help. She wasn't just an employee. She was a prisoner. Keanu clenched his fists slowly. Matt wasn't just controlling her. He had stolen her identity, her documents, her freedom. And from the way she trembled, he had hurt her before. Keanu moved closer, slowly. The girl spoke fast and low. Please, you have to leave. He'll be back soon. Keanu looked at the chain on her ankle. Does he always keep you like this? She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. He took me months ago. I tried to run, but she looked down at her arms. Bruises. Keanu felt a weight in his chest. This girl wasn't just a victim of abuse. She was being held against her will. And Matt didn't seem like the kind of man who would let this go easily. Keanu reached into his pocket, pulling out a small knife. Stay quiet. He crouched down, starting to cut through the chain. Then, heavy footsteps behind him. Keanu knew instantly. Before he could turn around, Matt's voice echoed through the room. What the hell do you think you're doing? Keanu stood up slowly. Matt was standing in the doorway, gripping something at his waist, a hunting knife. He was smiling. A cold, cruel smile. You shouldn't have gotten involved. He didn't have time to finish unlocking the girl's chain. What the hell do you think you're doing? Keanu slowly rose to his feet, preparing for the inevitable. Matt stood in the doorway, blocking the exit, gripping a hunting knife. His face didn't show rage. It showed control. That meant only one thing. He had done this before, and worse, he believed he could do it again. Matt let out a slow, casual laugh, adjusting his grip on the knife. Did you really think you could just walk into my store and walk out like nothing happened? Keanu didn't answer. He knew what Matt wanted. A reaction. He wanted to see fear. He wanted Keanu to play his game. But Keanu didn't play games. He stood his ground, waiting. Matt continued, "Let me guess, you think you're saving her, right?" He glanced at the girl and chuckled, because so far she hasn't said a damn word. The girl held her breath, frozen. Keanu could feel her eyes on him. She trusted him, but at the same time she feared what Matt might do. Matt stepped closer. The knife caught the dim light, glinting like a warning. "I've seen guys like you before, meddling where they don't belong, thinking they're some kind of hero." But in the end, he tilted the blade toward Keanu. "They walk out of here in worse shape than when they came in." Keanu still didn't react because he was waiting for something, the sound of sirens. But it wasn't time yet. He needed to stall Matt a little longer. Matt turned to the girl. "Tell him, do you want to leave with this guy?" She didn't answer. Her eyes were locked on the knife. Matt sighed, shaking his head. "See, she doesn't want to go." Keanu noticed the confidence in Matt's voice. He wasn't in a rush. That meant Matt thought he had complete control over the situation, and that meant he wasn't prepared to lose. Keanu could use that against him. He relaxed his body, exhaling slowly. "Okay." Matt narrowed his eyes. "What?" Keanu took a small step back, opening his hands. "If you say she wants to stay, then I'll leave." Matt hesitated. This wasn't what he expected. "That's right," Keanu continued, taking another step back. "Looks like I wasted my time here." Matt relaxed, and in that moment, Keanu moved. With a sudden burst of speed, Keanu grabbed the nearest chair and shoved it into Matt. Matt stumbled backward. It was enough. Keanu lunged, striking Matt's arm, knocking the knife away. Matt tried to recover. He swung at Keanu, landing a glancing punch to his face. But Keanu was ready. He dodged and brought Matt down with a precise strike. Matt hit the floor hard, gasping for air. Keanu grabbed the knife from the floor. He looked at the girl. "Grab the keys and get out of here." She hesitated, still shaking. But then Matt laughed. Even after everything, he still thought he was in control. "You think this is over?" Keanu didn't respond. He simply glanced at his watch. 30 seconds left. Matt noticed the look on Keanu's face, and then, outside, sirens. Matt froze. Keanu exhaled slowly. "I called the cops the second I heard her scream." Matt tried to move. He knew he couldn't afford to be caught, but Keanu held him down. The sirens grew louder. Red and blue lights flashed outside. The girl began to cry, but this time, it wasn't fear. It was relief. Matt glared at Keanu with hatred. "You ruined everything." Keanu held his gaze firm. "You ruined yourself." The red and blue lights from the police cars flashed against the cracked asphalt of the gas station. Officers stepped out of their vehicles, weapons drawn, prepared for anything. Keanu raised his hands, making it clear the threat had already been neutralized. Matt lay on the ground, his breath heavy, his eyes filled with hatred. As the officers approached him, he didn't fight back. He knew he had lost. 2 officers yanked him to his feet, swiftly handcuffing him, while another turned to the girl. She was sitting on the ground, hugging her knees, her whole body still shaking. "Miss, are you injured?" One officer asked, his voice calm but firm. She didn't answer at first. She just shook her head as if she didn't even know how to start processing everything. Keanu, still standing nearby, noticed how pale she looked. Her hands, still cradling, her small body trembled slightly. Keanu had seen trauma before. This wasn't just exhaustion. It was the weight of everything she had endured. He crouched beside the girl, meeting her gaze. For a moment, she just stared at him. "It's over." His voice was calm, reassuring. Her lips quivered as if trying to say something, but no words came out. She slowly turned to look at Matt. Even handcuffed, he was still trying to intimidate her. His stare was dark, burning with unspoken threats. But this time, she didn't look away. For the first time, he no longer had power over her. She inhaled deeply, the kind of breath someone takes when they've been holding it in for far too long. The officers led Matt toward one of the patrol cars, his boots scraping against the pavement as they pushed him forward. She watched in silence. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she could breathe. But deep inside, she knew this wasn't the end. It never was. You don't have to know right now. Her voice was barely a whisper. I don't know if I can be normal again. After a few minutes, an officer handed the girl a bottle of water. She accepted it, but her hands were still trembling. Keanu noticed. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. She looked at him. She wanted to talk, because Keanu was the first person to really see what was happening. She took a deep breath, and then she started. I'm from Kansas. Keanu stayed silent, just listening. My mom died when I was 7. My dad never recovered. She frowned, as if recalling painful memories. He started drinking, and when he drank, he changed. Her fingers gripped the water bottle tightly. By the time I was 11, I knew I had to leave. I spent years trying to figure out how. She let out a weak laugh. When I turned 12, I took everything I had and bought a bus ticket to Las Vegas. I thought I'd get a job. I thought things would get better. Her laugh faded, quickly. I was so naive. She hesitated. This part was harder to say. I made some bad choices. Keanu didn't react, just listened. I met people who acted like they wanted to help, but they didn't. Her breathing hitched slightly. I found myself in the streets, homeless. Keanu clenched his jaw but kept his expression neutral. You were left alone. She nodded. No money, no place to stay, no one to turn to. Her hands instinctively gripped her arms, as if protecting herself. That's when Matt found me. She turned toward the gas station, as if staring at a ghost. He saw me at a diner, said I looked tired, that he could help me. Keanu already knew where this was going, but he let her finish. At first, I believed him. She let out a shaky breath. But then, he took my ID. She paused, swallowing hard. That same night, he locked the door for the first time. Silence. Then, she looked down at her hands. I don't know what to do. Keanu followed her gaze. You don't have to know right now. Her voice was barely a whisper. I don't know if I can be normal again. Keanu's tone was steady. That's your decision, no one else's. Her eyes blinked, glossy with unshed tears. For the first time, someone wasn't telling her what she should do. She finally had a choice. Hours later, Keanu stood outside the police station. The sun was rising, casting a golden glow over the quiet streets. The girl stepped out of the front doors, now wearing clean clothes provided by the officers. She looked tired, but for the first time, she looked free. She saw Keanu by his motorcycle and smiled softly. So where are you headed now? Keanu shrugged, just following the road. She nodded. He reached into his jacket and handed her something, an envelope. She opened it and saw money inside. Keanu, I can't take this. He gave her a knowing smile. Yes, you can. Her fingers gripped the envelope tightly. What do I do now? Keanu met her gaze. Whatever you want. You're free. Keanu placed his helmet on and got on his bike. Are you going to be okay? She smiled. Yeah. Before leaving, he looked at her one last time. Be free. The wind blew, carrying with it the receipt. The one with the message. Help. Now it was no longer a cry for help. It was proof that someone had listened and made a difference. If you enjoyed this story, we have many more that will warm your heart. Click the screen to explore more stories of hope, compassion, and resilience. In case you did not watch my last story, I will leave it here for you. Happy watching.
A girl is fired for helping Keanu Reeves. The next day, she receives news that changes her life. Before we continue the story, grab your popcorn and your drink and get comfy and tell us in the comment below where you are watching from. And if you like inspiring stories like that about Keanu Reeves, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow at 8 p.m. we have another incredible story especially for you. It all began on a cold January morning in 2023 when Anna Myers, a 28-year-old waitress working at a quiet cafe in Los Angeles, was unexpectedly fired for what seemed to be an act of kindness. The reason? She had taken the trouble to help a customer, a man she hadn't even recognized at first, until the world-famous actor Keanu Reeves removed his baseball cap and gave her a humble, grateful smile. Anna didn't think much of it. Keanu had arrived at the cafe late at night, visibly exhausted, the weight of the world on his shoulders. She was finishing her shift when she noticed his wallet had fallen under the seat. Without hesitation, she picked it up and ran out into the cold night to catch him before he left. "Sir, you forgot this," she shouted, reaching him just as he was about to open the door of a modest black sedan. Keanu turned around, surprised. For a moment, Anna saw something in his eyes, gratitude and something else she couldn't quite decipher. "Thank you," he murmured, then hesitated for a second before adding, "You didn't even look inside, did you?" Anna shook her head, a little confused. "Why would I?" she replied with a smile. But when her manager found out the next morning, everything changed. "You left the cafe during your shift, and for just some random customer," her boss yelled, not even giving her a chance to explain. "We can't allow that kind of carelessness here, Anna. I'm sorry, but you're fired." Shocked and devastated, Anna tried to defend herself, but her words fell on deaf ears. With tears in her eyes, she packed up her belongings in a small box and left the cafe behind. The next day, while sitting in her tiny apartment, wondering how she would pay her rent, the news broke. Keanu Reeves had made an announcement that would not only shake the world, but also change Anna's life in a way she never imagined. It wasn't a scandal, nor was it about a new movie. It was a heartfelt story about an angel of kindness who had reminded him why it was still worth believing in humanity. "Someone out there didn't treat me like a celebrity," Keanu said in a heartfelt interview. "They treated me like a human being when I needed it the most." Anna held her breath as she watched the television. He was talking about her, but what Keanu revealed next left her frozen, tears rolling down her cheeks. His voice on the screen was firm, but filled with vulnerability, something that took Anna by surprise. She hadn't expected him to talk about her, let alone in such a raw and emotional way. "That night," he said, pausing to take a breath, "I had just visited someone who means a lot to me, someone who is no longer here. I wasn't sure if I could hold myself together, and then this stranger, this woman, went out of her way to help me. Not because I'm someone special, but because she cared." Anna felt her chest tighten as she saw his face on the screen. There was something haunting about his expression, a sadness that mirrored her own, in ways she couldn't fully understand. "In that moment," Keanu continued, "I realized that even when life feels unbearable, kindness can save us. She didn't know me. She didn't expect anything in return. She simply saw a person in need and acted. That night changed me." Anna sank into her old couch, silent tears streaming down her face. For a fleeting moment, she felt as if the universe had pushed her toward something she couldn't yet comprehend. But as the story continued, the weight of her own struggles crashed back down on her. She was still jobless, still unsure of how she would make it through. Then came the twist that took her breath away. "I've been looking for her," Keanu said, staring straight into the camera with determination. "I don't know her name, but if she's out there, I just want to say thank you. And if there's any way I can return her kindness, I'll do whatever it takes." Anna's phone vibrated. It was a message from her friend Lydia. "Anna, this is about you. You're all over the news." The realization hit her like a tidal wave. That small act of kindness, one she hadn't thought twice about, had triggered something far bigger than she had ever imagined. But with that realization came fear. Keanu Reeves was looking for her. What would she even say if he found her? Would he think less of her, now that she was jobless and broke? The next morning, Anna stepped into the cold Los Angeles air, wrapped in her second-hand coat. She needed to clear her mind. But as she walked the streets, lost in thought, she didn't notice the black sedan that had just pulled up to the curb. "Excuse me," said a familiar, gentle voice. Anna froze, slowly turning around. Standing before her was Keanu Reeves. His eyes softened, recognition lighting up his face. "It's you," he whispered, almost inaudibly. Anna's breath caught in her throat. She opened her mouth to say something, anything, but no words came out. Keanu gave her a small smile, one filled with the same kindness she had shown him that night. "I've been looking for you." And in that instant, the moment changed. It wasn't about fame. It wasn't about charity. It was just two strangers standing in the cold, connected by a fleeting moment. Neither of them fully understood, but both deeply felt. Anna finally found her voice. "I didn't think you'd remember me. How could I forget?" Keanu said sincerely. "You reminded me of something I thought I had lost." He hesitated, as if debating how much to share. Then, after a brief pause, he added, "I'd like to return the favor." But before Anna could respond, her phone vibrated again. This time, it was a message from her landlord. Her rent was overdue, an eviction notice was on the way. Panic surged through her, but she quickly hid it. She didn't want Keanu to notice. What she didn't know was, he already had. "Are you okay?" he asked gently, concern shining in his dark eyes. Anna forced a smile, but tears were already welling up. "I'm fine," she lied. That's when Keanu did something that left her completely speechless. His gaze didn't waver. His concern cut through her weak attempt to pretend. He tilted his head slightly, as if trying to read the truth in her expression. Before Anna could say another word, he softly said, "You don't have to tell me what's wrong, but I can see that something is." The weight of everything Anna had been carrying suddenly became unbearable. She shook her head, her voice breaking as she whispered, "It's nothing." Keanu hesitated for a moment before carefully extending his hand, as if unsure whether it was okay. When Anna didn't pull away, he gently rested it on her shoulder. "Anna," he said softly, saying her name as if it was the most important thing in the world. And that broke her completely. The tears spilled over, hot and unstoppable. "I lost my job," she admitted, her voice shaking. "I can't pay my rent. I don't know what I'm going to do." She hugged herself, feeling exposed and vulnerable in a way she hadn't since she was a child. Keanu's expression changed. It wasn't pity. It was something deeper, a kind of understanding that made Anna feel seen. "They fired you because of what you did for me, didn't they?" Anna hesitated, then nodded, wiping her tears. "It doesn't matter. I'll manage." Keanu took a step closer, lowering his voice. "It does matter. You didn't deserve that. You helped someone, and the world needs more people like you. Let me help you." Anna quickly shook her head. "I can't let you do that." "You didn't hesitate to help me," he interrupted, his voice firm yet gentle. "You didn't ask for anything in return. Let me return the favor." Before she could protest again, Keanu reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He held it out to her, and when Anna hesitated, he smiled softly. "Just take it." Slowly, Anna unfolded the paper. Her eyes widened. A check. The amount written on it was more money than she had ever seen in her life. Her hands trembled. She looked up at him, her voice barely audible. "I can't accept this. It's too much." Keanu's smile turned bittersweet. "It's not about the money, Anna. It's about what you did for me. You gave me something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. This is my way of saying thank you. Please." Anna stared at him, torn between gratitude and guilt. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Keanu said softly. "Just promise me one thing." "What?" she whispered. "Don't let the world take away your kindness. It's rare and powerful. Don't lose it." For the first time in days, Anna felt a spark of hope, but before she could respond, Keanu hesitated, his expression darkening again. "There's something else," he said quietly. "Something I didn't tell you that night." Anna frowned, her heart pounding, as she saw the pain in his eyes. "What is it?" Keanu's voice dropped to a near whisper. "That night, I was coming from the hospital. My sister is battling cancer." He paused, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "I didn't know if she was going to make it. I felt so lost." Anna's breath caught in her throat. She reached out instinctively, her fingers brushing his arm. "I'm so sorry," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. Keanu gave her a small, sad smile. "That night, you didn't just return my wallet. You reminded me that even in the darkest moments, there's still light. And now, I want to be that light for you." Tears streamed down Anna's face as she realized the depth of his words. This wasn't about charity. It wasn't about guilt. It was about two people who had unknowingly saved each other in ways neither of them fully understood. In that moment, standing in the cold, busy streets of Los Angeles, they both felt something shift, a connection that went beyond coincidence or circumstance. But life is never that simple. As Keanu opened his mouth to say something more, his phone vibrated in his pocket. He pulled it out, his face darkening as he read the message. "I have to go," he said, regret in his voice. "But this isn't over, Anna. I promise." And before she could respond, he gave her shoulder a gentle squeeze and turned to leave. Anna stood there, clutching the check in her hands, her heart filled with gratitude and confusion. She didn't know what would happen next, but something told her this was just the beginning of a story neither of them could have predicted. As she stood frozen on the sidewalk, watching Keanu disappear into the crowd, her mind was a whirlwind of emotions. She still held the check tightly, but her focus wasn't on the money. It was on the strange and unexpected bond she felt with a man whose life seemed so distant from her own. She wiped her tears, taking a deep breath. "This isn't real," she whispered to herself, but it was. That night, Anna returned to her tiny apartment, the check still in her hand. She placed it on her kitchen counter, staring at it as if it might disappear. The amount was enough to change her life, to pull her out of the spiral she was trapped in. Yet a part of her hesitated. It felt like too much, too fast. Her phone vibrated again. It was her friend Lydia. "You need to see this, now." Anna clicked on the link Lydia had sent. It led to a video of Keanu standing outside a hospital, surrounded by reporters. "She is my rock." His voice was steady but filled with emotion. "My sister. She's always been the strongest person I know. And as she fights this battle, I've realized how important it is to have people who remind you to keep going." He paused, lowering his gaze for a moment. "There's someone who reminded me of that. Someone I hope knows how much they've done for me." Anna's heart clenched as she watched Keanu's sister, a fragile woman with a gentle smile, being helped into the hospital by a nurse. Despite her pale complexion and the weight of her illness, she radiated warmth. Tears streamed down Anna's face. Keanu wasn't just being kind, he was carrying a weight she couldn't even imagine, and yet he had taken the time to find her, to try and make her life better, even as his own was falling apart. The next morning, Anna made a decision. Carefully folding the check, she slipped it into her bag. This wasn't about charity, it was about something deeper, a connection she couldn't explain, but couldn't ignore. She went to the hospital. At the entrance, she hesitated. Would they even let her see him? But just as she was gathering the courage to ask, a nurse walked by and smiled knowingly. "You're Anna, right?" Anna blinked, surprised. "How do you know that?" "He mentioned you," the nurse said softly, motioning for her to follow. "Come with me." She led Anna through winding hallways, to a quiet hospital room, through the small window in the door. Anna saw Keanu sitting beside his sister's bed, holding her hand and speaking to her in a low voice. His expression was gentle, but heavy with worry, his shoulders weighed down by sorrow. The nurse pushed the door open slightly, gesturing for Anna to step inside. Keanu looked up, his eyes widened in surprise. "Anna," he said, rising from his seat. "I hope I'm not interrupting," she said quickly, her voice shaking. "Is that her?" Keanu's sister asked softly, smiling warmly. Keanu nodded, never taking his eyes off Anna. "Yes," he said quietly, "it's her." Anna stepped forward, a lump forming in her throat. As she looked at his sister, "Hi," she said softly. "I'm Anna. I've heard a lot about you," Keanu's sister said, her kind smile defying the exhaustion in her eyes. "Thank you for taking care of my brother. He needs people like you." Anna looked at Keanu, her heart twisting at the vulnerability in his expression. "I didn't do anything special," she whispered. Keanu shook his head. "You did more than you know," he said. For the next hour, Anna stayed with them, talking softly about everything and nothing. She learned about his sister's love for painting, their childhood memories, her fight against the illness that had taken so much from her. As the afternoon faded, Anna felt something she hadn't in years, a sense of belonging, of purpose. But as she got ready to leave, Keanu walked her to the hallway, his expression serious. "Anna," he said softly, "I don't think you realize how much you've changed my life." She looked at him, tears in her eyes. "You've changed mine too." Keanu hesitated, as if choosing his words carefully. "I don't want this to be the last time we see each other." Anna's breath caught. "It doesn't have to be," she whispered, and for a moment, they stood there, the weight of everything unspoken between them. Then, Keanu's phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen, his face tensing. "It's the doctor," he said. Anna nodded, stepping back. "Go," she said, her voice steady despite the ache in her chest. But just before he disappeared into the hospital, he turned back one last time, his gaze locking onto hers. "This isn't goodbye," he said firmly. Anna stood there, her heart full of hope and uncertainty. As the door closed behind him,
If this story kept you hooked, you're in for more. Dive into a world of unforgettable tales filled with hope, compassion, and resilience. Click the screen and let the next story take you on a journey you won't forget.